Time now for my favourite part of the day. It's our International Press Review. Today it's with Marion Hembust. One of the reasons why it's my favourite part of the day, Marion. I don't know whether you're serious or soft starting with, so you take it away and tell us where we're going.
Starting with some serious stuff and the Gaza conflict. And looking at the German press, Der Spiegel consecrates a whole photo gallery, photographs of what they say is the media losing its censorship war in Gaza. And there's pictures of Israeli officers confiscating equipment from Reuters cameramen as they try to clamp down on what's being shown on Western television. Journalists trying to interview a family is a second photograph that we've picked out, who've just left the Gaza Strip trying to find out exactly what's going on there, but having trouble because they're caged in, they can't get over the border. And finally as well, Palestinian reporters who have participated in a protest against media injuries. There's been reports of the Israeli army targeting Palestinian reporters, many of whom are feeding us the only information that we're getting. So very much concentrating on the media there and picking up on that as well. The Independent, the British paper, as you mentioned in the headlines there, Palestinian Prime Minister Ismail Haniyeh writes an article to Western readers directly and criticises Europe for standing by and watching what's going on in Gaza and saying that as Israel tries to silence Palestinians, this isn't going to work. Another importance of the media being shown by the French press, and Libération talks about a Palestinian journalist who's just 24 years old, Sami Habib, who writes a blog about Gaza's untold story, as he puts it. Now, he talks about the difficulties of being able to update what's going on because of a lack of supplies there, and talks about the fact that he's received death threats from anonymous phone calls just because he's trying to tell people what's happening there.
So disturbing stuff, and obviously if journalists can't do their job, then the flow of information stops completely, and that's when obviously all kinds of abuses of systems come into play. What's next?
Well, we had a quick little look as well at the Israeli side, and Aujourd'hui en France shows a profile of a military reserve, a volunteer for the Israeli army. Quite an interesting article that, looking at how this 51-year-old Moshe, who should have given up at the age of 40, feels he owes it to his country to continue fighting. So a look from the other side there as well.
Okay. Moving on.
Moving on to Russia and Europe's war over gas. This has been going on for some time now. The Times Online is one that picks up the story, and a bit of it's a comment article here where it says, Putin has given us a wake-up call. We're all vulnerable to blackmail. And the article highlights how dependent Europe is on Russian gas. It says that the opening of the pipelines for the flow of gas on Tuesday was purely ceremonial from the Kremlin. It was a PR stunt. And it says that actually the gas will only really come back to Europe when Putin decides that Russia has humiliated the Ukraine enough, if you like. It says that this is a cold war against the Ukraine, trying to stop them from getting too pally with the West.
Cold war. That's a nice pun. But obviously not nice if it's your heating that's been shut off.
No, exactly.
Okay.
Especially in these cold winter months. And we're going to move on finally to The Independent, which has an interesting article on Putin and the art of power, kind of continuing on the similar theme there, but this is a very, very different story. And it's a bit sarcastic. It says that Prime Minister Vladimir Putin is heralded very often on Russian state TV as being a man of many, many talents. First it was the pin-up, when there was bare-chested photographs of him on a Siberian fishing trip, which we all obviously loved, I'm sure. The hero, when he rescued a TV crew from a tiger with a tranquilizer. Now he is an artist. He has done a painting which went on display in St. Petersburg yesterday. It's to raise money for children's hospitals. He painted it in 20 minutes, but apparently it had to be handed over to a professional artist to be touched up at the end.
Oh, there you go, a truly universal man, perhaps. Someone once said to me that if he'd make a great Bond villain. I think if Putin was a Bond villain, I think James Bond would be done for, don't you? Yeah? Or certainly he'd have his gas cut off. You're watching France 24, stay with us.
A 47-year trade embargo, a faltering economy, censorship and political repression. And yet, after 50 years, the Castro regime still survives. What's life like today under one of the last remaining bastions of communism? Our reporter crisscrossed the island of Cuba, from Havana to Santiago, meeting today's Cubans who stopped believing in the revolution long ago. Reporters, today, 6:10 p.m. Paris time on France 24.